The starship Aurora glided silently through the dark expanse of space. Outside the windows, stars shimmered like tiny diamonds on black velvet. Inside, the crew prepared for landing on Arendor, a planet known for its strange forests, glowing plants, and rare minerals. Humanity had sent explorers here before, but none had truly understood the planet's secrets. Among the crew was Lyra, a young scientist with unusual features. Her skin bore faint silver patterns. Her eyes glowed softly in dim light, and her hair had streaks of pale blue. Many called her strange or even ugly. They whispered when she walked by. Some laughed behind her back. Lyra ignored them. She had learned early that curiosity and courage mattered more than what others thought. Her eyes, which some found unsettling, could sense energy patterns invisible to most humans. Her scars, earned during early experiments, were not weaknesses, but marks of her persistence. Jaren, a young engineer on the Aurora, watched her quietly. He had heard the whispers too. Unlike others, he did not laugh. Instead, he felt a mix of sympathy and curiosity. Lyra always seemed calm, focused, even in the face of mockery. Jaren often wondered what secrets she held behind her strange glowing eyes. The ship began its descent. Arendor's atmosphere shimmered with a faint green haze. The landing bay opened with a hiss, and the crew disembarked. The planet was more breathtaking than any report had described. Towering trees stretched high into the sky, their leaves glowing faintly like lanterns. The ground shimmered with tiny, sparkling crystals that reflected the green sky. The colonists of Arendor were waiting near the landing site. Most were friendly, but a few eyed Lyra with thinly veiled disgust. "Why does she even come with us?" one of them muttered. "She doesn't even look human." Lyra ignored them. She was focused on her mission, to study the planet's bioluminescent flora and energy crystals, which held untold potential for humanity. Scientists believed these crystals could power entire cities, heal injuries, or even improve human life, in ways never imagined. But no one had fully explored their potential yet. Jaren followed Lyra as she led the way toward the glowing forest, a region forbidden to most colonists. The forest was known for its beauty, but also for hidden dangers. Strange creatures roamed there, some friendly, some aggressive, and the trees themselves seemed almost alive, reacting to movement and light. "Are you sure this is safe?" Jaren asked, glancing nervously at the glowing leaves above them. Lyra smiled faintly. "Nothing worth discovering is ever completely safe," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. "We have to take risks if we want to understand Arendor." The forest seemed to respond to her presence. As she stepped forward, faint blue sparks flickered along the crystal-lined path. Jaren felt a shiver. He had studied Arendor's energy patterns before, but he had never seen them react like this. Other crew members stayed back, whispering their doubts. "She'll get us all in trouble," one muttered. "She's not even strong enough to survive out here." Lyra ignored them too. She had grown used to being judged by her appearance. On other planets, on other ships, people had treated her differently because of her glowing eyes and scarred face. Most assumed weakness where there was strength, fear where there was courage. As they walked deeper into the forest, the glowing plants seemed to hum softly, filling the air with a quiet vibration. Lyra knelt beside a small cluster of crystal flowers. She placed her hands lightly on the petals, and they pulsed with energy. The soft glow intensified around her, highlighting the silver patterns on her skin. Jaren watched in awe. "How are you doing that?" he whispered. "The crystals respond to energy," Lyra explained. "But not just any energy. They respond to living energy, the kind that comes from understanding, from care, from focus. Most humans can't sense it." "I can." Her voice carried calm authority. Even the other crew members who had been mocking her fell silent. They could see it. Lyra's connection to the forest was unlike anything they had experienced. Suddenly, a loud rustle echoed through the trees. Small, glowing creatures with delicate wings darted between branches. The colonists panicked, but Lyra remained calm. She extended her hand, and one of the creatures landed gently on her palm. Its wings glowed like fireflies. "See?" she said softly. "The forest trusts those who respect it." Jaren felt a growing respect for her. He had admired her intelligence before, but now he saw something more: courage, empathy, and a connection to life that others lacked. He realized that the whispers about her appearance were meaningless compared to what she could do. They continued deeper into the forest. The path led them to a clearing where a strange crystalline formation rose like a tower from the ground. Its surface shimmered with multiple colors, casting dancing lights across the forest floor. "This is incredible," Jaren whispered. "What is it?" "The heart crystal," Lyra replied. "It's the core of this forest's energy. If studied carefully, it could revolutionize everything we know about energy and life." The other crew members approached cautiously, their eyes wide. Even the colonists who had mocked Lyra could not deny the beauty and power of the heart crystal. Lyra knelt before it, placing her hands on the surface. Her eyes began to glow brighter, reflecting the colors of the crystal. The formation pulsed, in response, sending waves of light through the clearing. Jaren felt warmth and a strange sense of calm wash over him. "Wow," he breathed. It's alive." "It is alive," Lyra said, "and it responds to those who understand it. The key is not force. It's respect, patience, and care. That's why most people fail. They try to take power instead of earning it." For the first time, the colonists seemed to see Lyra differently. They had mocked her face, her eyes, her scars. Now they realized that she possessed a gift they could not understand. As they prepared to study the crystal, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Jaren stumbled, but Lyra held her position. The glowing forest seemed to react to the disturbance. Leaves quivering and lights flickering. "Something's coming," Lyra said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "We need to be ready." Jaren looked at her, amazed. Even facing danger, she remained composed. He realized that the whispers and mockery of the past were meaningless. True strength was not in appearance. It was in courage, knowledge, and heart. The crew gathered, ready to follow her lead. For the first time, many of them felt respect instead of fear or contempt. Lyra's strange, glowing eyes now seemed like a beacon, a sign that she was not just different, but extraordinary. As the sun set over Arendor, painting the sky with shades of green and gold, Lyra stood before the heart crystal. The glow of the forest embraced her, illuminating her face and highlighting her unique beauty. The mocking words of the past felt distant and small compared to the power she held, the mysteries she would uncover, and the courage she would show. In that moment, Jaren knew one thing: Lyra was not ugly. She was remarkable, and Arendor had only just begun to reveal her true potential. The glowing forest of Arendor stretched endlessly before them, a labyrinth of towering trees, sparkling crystals, and soft, glowing plants. The crew of the Aurora followed cautiously, unsure of what dangers or wonders lay ahead. Jaren walked beside Lyra, his eyes never leaving her. Every step she took seemed to make the forest itself respond, as if it recognized her presence. Lyra moved confidently, her hands occasionally brushing over the luminescent leaves, sending tiny sparks of light into the air. The forest pulsed softly around her, almost like it was breathing. Jaren tried to understand what was happening. The forest seemed alive, yes, but it was more than that. It responded to Lyra. "Why do you think the forest reacts to you?" Jaren asked quietly, trying not to startle her. Lyra's eyes glimmered in the faint light. "Because I see energy," she said. "Not just in crystals or plants, but in life itself. I can feel the flow, the patterns, the rhythm. Most humans can't. They only see what's on the surface. I see the hidden." Jaren nodded slowly. He had always admired Lyra's intelligence, but this was something more. It was a gift. He felt a pang of regret for having ever thought poorly of her, even for a moment. As they moved deeper into the forest, a path of glowing crystals appeared before them, forming an intricate design on the ground. Lyra knelt to examine it. "These crystals are arranged to store energy," she explained. They absorb life energy from the forest and hold it, but they're delicate. A careless touch could destroy the pattern. Jaren bent down to watch, fascinated. The patterns glowed brighter under Lyra's touch, and she whispered softly, almost as if talking to the crystals themselves. To Jaren's amazement, the crystals seemed to respond, shifting their glow in harmony with her voice and energy. "You really can communicate with them?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra replied. "Not with words, but with understanding. The forest. Trust me because I respect it. I don't take. I give back." Suddenly, a rustling sound came from above. Small, luminous creatures, shaped like floating orbs with wings, darted through the branches. The crew stepped back instinctively, some whispering fears of alien predators. But Lyra raised her hand calmly. "Do not be afraid," she said softly. The creatures circled her head and then landed gently on her outstretched arms. Their wings glowed brighter in response to her touch. "They are friends. They know who is here to help and who comes only for harm." Jaren watched in awe. He had never seen anyone command respect from the creatures of Arendor like this. It was not power in the usual sense. It was harmony, understanding, and patience. The calm did not last long. From the shadows of the forest came a low, menacing growl. A large creature unlike anything Jaren had ever seen stepped into the clearing. Its body shimmered with dark scales, and its eyes glowed a deep red. It moved silently, yet every step shook the ground slightly. "Stay calm," Lyra whispered. "It can sense fear. If we panic, it may attack." The crew froze, unsure of what to do. The creature stepped closer, its glowing eyes fixed on Lyra. She did not flinch. Instead, she knelt and extended her hand toward the creature. Slowly, almost magically, the red glow of its eyes softened. The creature lowered its head, letting her touch its snout gently. "It feels the energy I give," Lyra explained. "It knows I mean no harm. Most humans would have screamed or run, and it would have attacked." Jaren could hardly believe it. She had not fought the creature. She had understood it. That understanding, he realized, was far more powerful than any weapon. After the creature retreated, Lyra led the crew further into the forest, toward a clearing that housed another crystalline formation, smaller but more complex than the heart crystal they had seen before. This cluster pulsed with multiple colors and emitted a low musical hum. "This is the song crystal," Lyra said. "It stores the memory of the forest, the energy patterns, the growth cycles, even the thoughts of some creatures. If studied carefully, it can teach us things no human has known before." She knelt and placed her hands on the crystal. Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting the colors of the crystal. The light seemed to wrap around her fingers, then travel up her arms. Jaren watched, mesmerized, as the crystal pulsed in response, sending waves of glowing energy throughout the clearing. "The crystal responds to life energy," Lyra explained. "It feels what I feel, and it mirrors it. That's why most humans fail. They cannot give energy with understanding. They try to take it, and it rejects them. I can give it life." As she worked, Jaren noticed the forest around them becoming more alive. The leaves shimmered brighter, the air vibrated softly, and the small glowing creatures returned to hover around her. The forest was welcoming her, responding to her presence, and he realized this was more than a gift. It was a bond. Why can you do this?" Jaren asked quietly. "Why not anyone else?" Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes calm and steady. "Because I was born this way. My body, my energy, even my appearance. It allows me to interact with the crystals safely. Others cannot. They would be hurt or rejected." Her words sank in. Jaren had known that she was different, but he had never realized just how unique she truly was. Her ugly features, the glowing eyes, even her scars, they were not flaws. They were part of her strength, a key to understanding the life, energy of Arendor. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed from deeper within the forest, a low, vibrating roar that shook the ground beneath their feet. The song crystal's light flickered. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Something is coming," she said. "We are not alone here, and whatever it is, It knows the power of the crystals. The crew grew tense. Jaren looked at Lyra, searching for guidance. She extended her hand, glowing faintly. The forest seemed to shift around her as if preparing for what was coming. "Follow me," she said. "Stay close. We need to reach the next formation before it finds us." They moved quickly through the forest, the glowing plants lighting their path. The strange creatures flew ahead, guiding them, and the forest itself seemed to open for them. Jaren realized that with Lyra leading, they were safer than ever before. Her knowledge, her connection, her talent, it was as if the forest itself was protecting them. At last, they reached a small plateau where another crystal cluster emerged from the ground. This one pulsed with bright green light, radiating warmth and calm. Lyra knelt again, placing her hands gently on the crystals. "This is the heart of the forest," she said. "It stores the deepest energy here. If we can study it safely, we can learn how to protect Arendor, and perhaps help other planets too." Jaren watched as her eyes glowed in harmony with the crystal. The light wrapped around her hands and arms, traveling up to her shoulders, illuminating her face in a gentle, radiant glow. For a moment, all the doubts, the whispers, and the mockery from before seemed distant and meaningless. He realized that her true strength had always been hidden, not in her appearance, but in her ability to see, understand, and connect. The forest hummed softly. The crystals pulsed, and the strange creatures hovered around Lyra in reverence. Jaren could not take his eyes off her. She was no longer just the ugly girl the crew had whispered about. She was the bridge between humanity and the living energy of Arendor. A sudden shadow crossed the green light of the plateau. Jaren's heart raced. Something, or someone, was approaching. Lyra sensed it immediately, stepping forward with confidence. "They are coming," she said softly, "and soon we will see if the world respects knowledge and courage over fear and judgment." Jaren clenched his fists, ready to follow her anywhere. He finally understood that true greatness is never about looks. It is about heart, mind, and spirit. The forest pulsed brighter, as if agreeing. Lyra, glowing eyes and all, led the crew into the unknown depths of Arendor, ready to reveal secrets that could change everything they thought they knew about life, energy, and humanity itself. The peaceful glow of Arendor's forest was suddenly broken by an unnatural shadow creeping across the trees. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her glowing gaze scanning the darkening horizon. She could feel the energy shifting in the forest, an uneasy tremor that whispered of danger. Jaren, walking beside her, felt a chill run down his spine. "What is it?" he asked quietly, glancing at the pulsing leaves and flickering crystal lights. Lyra didn't answer immediately. She placed a hand on the nearest cluster of crystals. They vibrated softly as if trying to communicate. "Something is coming," she said finally. "Not native to this world. Its energy is foreign and dangerous." From the shadows emerged the Xylar, a species unknown to humanity. Their sleek, metallic bodies shimmered in dark silver, and their glowing, red eyes reflected the last light of Arendor's bioluminescent forest. The Xylar moved with precision and silent menace, clearly seeking something, the energy crystals Lyra had discovered. The crew froze. Some whispered in fear. "We're not ready for this," one muttered. "We can't fight them." Lyra turned, her glowing eyes meeting theirs. "We don't need to fight blindly. We need strategy, intelligence, and respect for the energy around us. The forest will help if we act correctly." Jaren felt a surge of hope. With Lyra leading, perhaps they had a chance. The Xylar approached the clearing where the song crystal and heart of the forest pulsed softly. They seemed unaware of Lyra's presence at first, intent on seizing the crystal's energy. But Lyra's calm, steady energy radiated outward, forming a subtle protective barrier. The crystals themselves responded to her touch, glowing brighter and casting a shimmering shield over the area. "Stay close to me," Lyra instructed. "Do not panic. The energy will protect us if we focus." The crew obeyed, gathering behind her as she knelt beside the heart of the forest. She placed her hands on the crystal, her eyes glowing more brightly than ever. Waves of soft, pulsating energy began radiating outward, creating a shimmering barrier that the Xylar could not penetrate. The alien creatures hissed and clicked, confused and frustrated. They tried to move closer, but the energy shield pushed against them, forcing them back. Lyra remained calm, concentrating all her energy on the crystals. She whispered softly, and the forest seemed to answer her words, sending streams of glowing vines and lights that formed a protective network around the clearing. "Your strength, it's incredible," Jaren whispered to her. "How are you doing this?" Lyra didn't look at him. Her attention was entirely on the Xylar and the crystals. "It's not just strength," she said quietly. "It's connection. The crystals and the forest trust me. They will protect those who respect life, but they reject those who take without understanding." The Xylar, frustrated by the invisible barrier, began using their weapons. Pulses of dark energy shot toward the clearing, striking the glowing vines. The energy from the crystals absorbed most of it, glowing brighter with each attack. Lyra gritted her teeth and poured more energy from herself into the forest. Her body glowed in harmony with the crystals, illuminating the clearing with colors that shifted and danced like fire. The crew watched in awe. Those who had mocked Lyra for her appearance now realized the truth. She was extraordinary. Her scars, her glowing eyes, and her unusual features were not weaknesses. They were gifts. She was the living bridge between humanity and the life energy of Arendor. One of the Xylar attempted to bypass the barrier, using agility and speed to slip past the energy shield. Lyra's eyes tracked the movement instantly. She raised her hand, sending a pulse of controlled energy toward the intruder. The creature froze mid-step, as if held by invisible strings, and then gently fell to the ground, unharmed but restrained. Jaren stared, unable to hide his admiration. "She's stopping them without hurting them," he whispered. "She's controlling the energy, not destroying it." Lyra turned to him briefly. "Violence is not always the answer," she said. "Sometimes, understanding and control are stronger than weapons." The rest of the Xylar hesitated, sensing that they could not easily overcome the energy barrier. Lyra's connection with the forest and the crystals had created a zone they could not enter. She smiled faintly, focusing all her energy on maintaining the protective field. Minutes passed like hours. The forest hummed with life, each glowing plant and crystal responding to Lyra's presence. The Xylar tried repeatedly to break the barrier, but the forest itself seemed to resist, wrapping glowing vines around their legs, pushing them back with waves of energy, and blinding them with bursts of light. The crew began to understand something important. Lyra's unusual appearance had once drawn mockery, but it was the very reason she could interact with the crystals. Without her unique energy, the colony would have been defenseless. One of the crew members, a young botanist named Mira, whispered in awe, "I thought she was different, strange, ugly, but she's protecting us all. She's saving Arendor." Lyra did not pause. She whispered softly to the crystals, guiding the flow of energy with precision. The vines around the Xylar tightened, her glowing eyes projecting calm authority. The invaders hissed and retreated slightly, unable to touch the heart of the forest. Jaren took a deep breath. He had always admired Lyra's mind, but now he admired her courage and heart as well. She had faced mockery, doubt, and fear, yet she stood stronger than anyone he had ever known. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the clearing. One of the Xylar had found a weak spot in the energy barrier. A sharp spike of dark energy shot toward the heart of the forest. Lyra's eyes widened slightly, and she reacted instantly. She extended both hands, channeling a surge of energy from her own body into the crystal. The spike of dark energy struck the protective barrier and was absorbed harmlessly, causing the crystal to pulse brighter than ever. The forest itself seemed to sigh in relief. Small, glowing creatures returned to hover around Lyra, circling protectively. The Xylar hissed and retreated, realizing they could not overcome her power. Jaren approached cautiously. "Lyra, you're incredible," he said, his voice filled with admiration. You've protected all of us, and the colony, without anyone being hurt. Lyra smiled faintly, her energy slowly returning to a softer glow. We protect what we respect, she said. The crystals, the forest, even the creatures. Violence is a last resort. We must act with care always. The crew began to gather around her, their fear replaced by respect. Even those who had whispered and mocked her could no longer deny her power and wisdom. She had turned the forest itself into a shield, using knowledge, patience, and understanding instead of weapons. Jaren felt a mix of awe and pride. He had learned a lesson he would never forget. Appearances could be deceiving, and true strength came from within. Lyra's scars and glowing eyes were not marks of weakness. They were symbols of her connection to life, her courage, and her understanding of energy. As the Xylar retreated into the shadows, Lyra released her control over the crystals, allowing them to return to their natural rhythm. The forest pulsed gently, the glowing plants returning to their calm, radiant state. The crew looked around, feeling the peace settle back over the clearing. Mira stepped forward, smiling. Lyra, thank you. You saved us all. I understand now. Your appearance isn't what matters. It's your heart, your mind, your courage. Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes softening. Thank you, Mira. Remember this. True power is not in strength alone. It is in respect, understanding, and the will to protect life. Jaren stood beside her, his admiration clear. I used to wonder why people mocked you, he said quietly. Now I see why they were wrong. You're extraordinary. Lyra glanced at him, a small, gentle smile on her face. Sometimes the world does not understand what is different, but that does not make it less valuable. We just need patience to wait until they see the truth. As the crew began to move back toward the landing site, the forest hummed softly behind them, calm once more. Lyra walked ahead, her glowing eyes reflecting the light of the crystals. Jaren followed closely, feeling a newfound respect and trust in her. The Xylar threat had been repelled for now, but Lyra knew it was only the beginning. There were more secrets in Arendor's depths and more challenges waiting for them. Yet with courage, intelligence, and connection to life itself, she believed they could face whatever came next. For the first time, many of the crew understood something important. Lyra's true strength had always been hidden, not because she was weak, but because the world had never truly looked beyond her appearance. Now they saw her as she truly was, an extraordinary human capable of protecting an entire planet. The glow of the forest followed them as they returned to the landing site, the crystals pulsing softly, as if celebrating the courage and wisdom of the girl they had once mocked. And Lyra, walking with quiet confidence, knew that the real journey was just beginning. The sun was setting over the glowing forest of Arendor, painting the sky with shades of green and gold. The forest's soft hum mingled with the faint pulse of the crystals, creating a serene, almost magical atmosphere. The crew had returned to the clearing near the heart of the forest, exhausted but relieved. The Xylar threat had been repelled, for now, but the weight of the day lingered heavily. Lyra knelt beside the heart of the forest, her glowing eyes reflecting the pulsating light. Jaren approached cautiously, his curiosity stronger than ever. Lyra, he said softly, there's something I don't understand. Your abilities, your connection to the forest. Why can you do this when no one else can? Lyra looked at him, her expression calm but tinged with a quiet sadness. It's time I show you the truth, she said. She stood, letting the soft light of the heart crystal illuminate her face. For the first time, she removed the scarf she always wore around her neck and face, revealing the full extent of her unusual appearance. Her skin shimmered with faint, silver patterns, and her eyes glowed brighter than the heart crystal itself. But there was more. Her skin seemed to pulse gently with energy, flowing in rhythm with the crystals. It was beautiful in a way that words could hardly describe. The light of the forest reflected off her features, revealing a connection so deep that it was almost impossible to comprehend. The crew stepped back slightly, their initial shock evident. Some of the colonists who had once mocked her whispered, in awe. "It's amazing," Mira said softly, unable to look away. Lyra smiled faintly. "I have always hidden my face because humans often fear what they do not understand. My appearance, my energy, it can be overwhelming. People judge too quickly, and sometimes it is safer to hide. But my face is not a weakness. It is part of who I am. It is part of the bond I share with the forest and the crystals." Jaren took a step closer, his eyes wide with wonder. "So, all this time it wasn't just about your appearance. It was your gift, your connection." "Yes," Lyra replied softly. "The features you call strange, the glow in my eyes, even the patterns on my skin, they are all part of how I interact with life energy. Without them, I could not channel the crystals safely. Without them, I could not protect the forest, or the colony." The crew stood silently, processing her words. They remembered how she had faced danger calmly, how she had communicated with the creatures of Arendor, and how she had created protective energy fields that the Xylar could not break. Every doubt, every whisper of mockery, seemed small and meaningless in comparison to the reality of her abilities. Lyra knelt again, placing her hands on the heart crystal. The pulsing light of the crystal mirrored her own energy, flowing through her, amplifying her natural glow. She spoke softly, almost as if whispering to the forest itself. The air vibrated with energy. Trees shimmered brighter, small glowing creatures hovered closer, and the crystals pulsed with a harmony that had never been seen before. Lyra's face reflected all of it, the glow, the strength, the connection. She was no longer hiding. She was revealing the full extent of her power, and the forest itself seemed to honor her. "Do you see now?" Lyra asked, her glowing eyes meeting Jaren's. "My face, my appearance, it is not ugly. It is life, it is energy. It is part of the strength that protects everything here. Those who mocked me, they could not see beyond what they expected to see. But true power, true beauty, is deeper than skin." Jaren nodded slowly, his admiration and respect growing with every word. "I understand now," he said quietly. "You've always been extraordinary, not because of what you look like, but because of who you are and what you can do." The rest of the crew gathered around, some cautiously, some with awe in their eyes. Even those who had mocked her before could not deny the truth. Lyra's appearance, once considered strange or frightening, was now seen in a new light. A symbol of courage, wisdom, and a deep connection to life itself. Lyra rose, extending her hands outward. "The forest and the crystals have taught me many things," she said. "But the most important lesson is this: never judge by appearances. Strength comes in many forms, and often the greatest power is hidden in what others do not understand." Suddenly the ground beneath them trembled. Jaren's eyes widened. "More Xylar?" he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "No. Something else. The forest itself is responding." The crystals pulsed brighter, sending waves of energy throughout the clearing. Lyra closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the flow of the forest, the rhythm of the crystals, and the life energy of every creature nearby. Her face glowed brighter than ever, the silver patterns on her skin now shining like liquid light. The crew could feel the warmth and strength radiating from her. It was not frightening anymore, it was awe-inspiring. "The forest trusts me completely," Lyra said softly, "and because it trusts me, I can channel its power. I can protect the colony, heal the injured, and even communicate with creatures who cannot speak." Mira stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "Lyra, can you heal the wounded?" Lyra nodded. She placed her hands gently on a small crystal that had been slightly damaged during the Xylar attack. Light flowed from her fingers into the crystal, mending cracks and restoring its glow. Then, with a soft smile, she extended her hands toward the crew, sending a gentle pulse of life energy through the clearing. Those who had minor scratches or bruises felt warmth spread through their bodies, and their injuries began to fade. Jaren felt the energy wash over him, a sense of calm and strength filling his chest. "Incredible," he whispered. "You're saving everyone, and even the forest." Lyra smiled faintly, her glowing eyes softening. "I do not save alone. The forest, the crystals, and life itself help. I am simply a guide, a connection." The crew watched in awe. The forest pulsed gently. The glowing creatures hovered nearby, and the crystals shimmered with harmony. Lyra's true face, once hidden, now reflected strength, wisdom, and beauty in a way that no words could capture. "I hid my face for a reason," Lyra said softly, her eyes meeting Jaren's. "Not because I am ashamed, but because the world is not always ready to see what is different. People fear what they do not understand. But when they see the truth, they realize that difference is a gift, not a weakness." Jaren nodded, feeling a deep sense of respect. "I understand now, Lyra. You're not just protecting Arendor. You're teaching all of us a lesson about courage, understanding, and acceptance." Lyra's gaze swept over the crew. "Remember this. True beauty is not in appearances. True strength is not in muscle or weapons. True power is in heart, mind, and spirit. And those who respect life, knowledge, and courage will always find a way to protect what they love." The forest seemed to agree. The heart of the forest pulsed softly, as if echoing her words. The glowing creatures hovered closer, their lights forming a protective circle around the crew. Lyra's glowing face, no longer hidden, shone like a beacon of hope and courage. Jaren could not take his eyes off her. He realized that everything he had thought about beauty, strength, and power had changed in a single day. Lyra had shown him that appearances were meaningless compared to what someone could achieve with knowledge, courage, and a heart that respected life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long green-gold shadows across the forest, Lyra stood tall. Her glowing face reflected the light of the crystals, the strength of the forest, and the bond she shared with all living things. The crew, once doubtful and mocking, now looked at her with awe and admiration. In that moment, Lyra's true face was revealed, not as something to hide, but as a symbol of life, courage, and extraordinary potential. And for the first time, Jaren and the crew understood what it truly meant to see beyond appearances, to recognize the strength that lies hidden in those who are misunderstood. The forest hummed softly around them, the crystals pulsing in harmony with her energy. Lyra smiled faintly, knowing that the journey was far from over, but confident that with courage, wisdom, and respect for life, they could face whatever challenges awaited them in the depths of Arendor. And in that glow, she was no longer the girl they had mocked. She was the protector, the guide, and the living heart of the forest itself. The morning sun rose over Arendor, casting golden-green light across the glowing forest. The forest shimmered softly, crystals reflecting the gentle radiance, and small luminous creatures floated lazily among the trees. The calm, after the previous day's danger, felt peaceful, but Lyra knew that her work and the journey of the colony was far from over. Jaren walked beside her, noticing how the crew moved with a new respect. Gone were the whispers, the sideways glances, and the mocking smiles. Instead, everyone seemed attentive, even in awe, watching Lyra as she moved among the crystals and the glowing plants. "You've changed everything," Jaren said quietly. "Everyone's starting to see what I've known all along." Lyra's glowing eyes met his, gentle yet determined. "It wasn't just me," she replied softly. "It was the forest, the crystals, and the courage of everyone willing to learn. But yes, it feels different now, doesn't it? To be truly understood?" Jaren nodded. "It does, and it's not just understanding, it's respect. People respect you now." Lyra smiled faintly, letting the light of the heart of the forest reflect on her silver-patterned skin. Respect is earned, not demanded, and sometimes it takes time for people to see what they are blind to at first glance. The crew gathered, in the clearing. Mira stepped forward, her voice filled with gratitude. Lyra, we owe you everything. You saved us from the Xylar, protected the colony, and even healed the forest. I never understood before, but now I do. You are extraordinary. Lyra shook her head softly. I am not extraordinary because of strength or bravery. I am extraordinary because I respect life, because I seek understanding, and because I never let fear guide me. Anyone who follows these principles can achieve great things. The colonists, some still cautious, stepped closer. One of them, an elder named Theron, spoke up. All these years, we judged what we did not understand. Your appearance, Lyra, we were wrong to mock you. You have shown us that true power is not in form but in heart and knowledge. Lyra inclined her head slightly, accepting the apology without bitterness. She knew that change took time. People often feared what they did not understand. But if given the chance, they could learn, and they could grow. The heart of the forest pulsed brightly, as if echoing her words. Lyra knelt and touched the crystal, gently, letting its energy flow through her. The forest responded, vibrant and alive, as if celebrating the new understanding among the humans who had once doubted her. Jaren watched closely, noticing how the energy from the crystals seemed to reflect Lyra's emotions. It was calm yet strong, gentle yet unyielding. Her ability to channel the life force of the forest was no longer a hidden talent. It was a gift that everyone now recognized. Suddenly, Lyra stood, lifting her hands toward the sky. The crystals around the clearing pulsed in harmony with her energy, sending waves of glowing light across the forest. The luminous creatures swirled above, forming shapes that resembled protective barriers and symbols of life. The colony watched in amazement. This is the true bond between life and understanding, Lyra said softly. The forest, the crystals, and every living being here are connected. If we respect this connection, we can protect Arendor and ourselves. If we ignore it, we risk destruction. Jaren stepped closer. Lyra, what happens now? The Xylar might return, and there may be more dangers in this forest. How will we protect ourselves? Lyra's eyes glowed warmly. We will protect ourselves by learning, by respecting life, and by understanding the forces around us. The forest itself will help those who act with care, and I will continue to guide the colony, just as the crystals have guided me. The crew and colonists exchanged glances, realizing that the girl they once mocked had become the heart of their community. She was no longer someone to judge or fear. She was a leader, a protector, and a symbol of the extraordinary potential within humanity. Over the next few weeks, Lyra worked closely with the crew and colonists. She taught them how to safely interact with the crystals, how to sense life energy, and how to communicate with the glowing creatures of the forest. Each lesson was met with curiosity and respect, and slowly, the colony grew stronger and more unified. Jaren noticed how much the crew had changed. Where once they had whispered and laughed behind Lyra's back, now they worked alongside her with focus and admiration. Even those who had feared her abilities now recognized their value. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Lyra and Jaren walked along a path lined with shimmering crystals. The soft hum of the forest surrounded them. Lyra, Jaren said quietly, do you ever regret hiding your face all those years? Lyra shook her head. No, she replied softly. It was necessary. People were not ready to understand. But now, they are. And it is time for me to be seen fully, not just for my appearance, but for what I can do and what we can achieve together. Jaren smiled. You've taught all of us more than I can describe. About courage, about understanding, about seeing beyond appearances. Lyra's glowing eyes reflected the golden-green light of the forest. That is the true lesson, she said. Appearances can deceive. Strength and beauty are deeper than what can be seen. The greatest power lies in heart, mind, and spirit. The next morning, the colony held a ceremony near the heart of the forest. Lyra stood at the center, glowing faintly as the crystals pulsed in response to her energy. The colonists and crew gathered around, bowing slightly in respect. Theron, the elder, stepped forward. "Lyra," he said, "we once mocked your appearance. We did not see what was hidden beneath. Today we recognize your courage, your wisdom, and your extraordinary gift. You have saved us, guided us, and shown us the true meaning of strength. We honor you." Lyra lowered her head slightly, her silver-patterned skin shimmering softly. "Thank you," she said. "But the honor is not mine alone. The forest, the crystals, and every living being here has played a role. We protect and guide one another. That is the true power." The crowd erupted in applause, a mix of admiration and gratitude. The luminous creatures hovered above, their lights weaving patterns of celebration across the clearing. The heart of the forest pulsed in harmony, echoing the energy and joy of the colony. Jaren stepped beside Lyra, his eyes reflecting the glow of the crystals. "You've become more than a protector," he said quietly. "You've become an inspiration, a symbol of hope." Lyra smiled faintly. "If we inspire others to see beyond appearances, to act with courage and understanding, then everything we do here will have meaning." Over time, the colony thrived. The humans learned to live in harmony with the forest, protecting the crystals and respecting the creatures. Lyra continued to guide them, teaching new generations how to connect with the energy around them. Her face, once hidden and mocked, became a symbol of courage, wisdom, and acceptance. People came from other colonies to witness the extraordinary girl who had once been misunderstood. They learned from her, inspired by her connection to life, and carried her lessons back to their own worlds. Lyra had turned what others considered a weakness into a strength that could protect and inspire countless lives. One evening, Jaren watched Lyra standing alone in the clearing, the heart of the forest glowing in perfect harmony with her energy. She raised her hands slightly, sending a gentle pulse through the forest. The luminous creatures swirled around her, forming shapes of protection and life. "She is remarkable," he whispered to himself, "not because of what she looks like, but because of who she is." Lyra turned, sensing his presence. Her glowing eyes met his, and she smiled softly. "The greatest journey is understanding yourself," she said quietly. "Once you see your own strength, you can help others see theirs." As the sun set, the forest glowed brighter than ever. Lyra stood tall, no longer hiding, her face shining with confidence and energy. The colony flourished, the forest thrived, and the legacy of the extraordinary girl who had once been mocked became a story of courage, acceptance, and hope. In the years to come, children of the colony grew up hearing stories of Lyra, the girl, with the glowing eyes and silver patterns, who had saved Arendor and taught humanity the power of understanding, courage, and respect. And Lyra, standing in the glowing heart of the forest, knew that her journey was not just her own. It was the journey of every person who dared to see beyond appearances, who dared to respect life, and who dared to be extraordinary.